Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. As always, my name is Igor and I want to start my cycle about the Forsaken. And I decided to start with the least popular one. This is why this video is dedicated to Mesaana. In this video I will warn you about every book that I'm going to spoil. So if you see the book that you still haven't read, then you should turn off this video because of spoilers. Now let's start. So let's say you would like to meet Mesaana. But before you come to her and ask her for her phone number, invite her on a date or something, let's figure out if we like her or not. If you will meet Mesaana somewhere on the street or in the bar, then she may very well remind you of Alison Brie, a famous actress. She is 167 centimeters tall, she looks a little younger than middle age, and she has big, wet blue eyes and dark hair down to her chin. Mesaana looks rather nice than she is really beautiful. When she speaks to you, her voice may remind you of bells ringing. But always treat Mesaana as polite as possible, even if she's not very respectful to you, because her power level on the scale of Robert Jrdan is 2, which puts her a little lower than such women as Lanfear, Semiraj and Olivia. If you are lucky enough to have a conversation with Mesaana in a comfortable environment, then you'll learn that she is a very stubborn, practical, intelligent woman who tends to analyze absolutely everything, although sometimes she remains quite blind to her own shortcomings and virtues. If you have some kind of romantic plans towards Mesaana, then forget about it, because she usually doesn't really pay attention to her own appearance. All she cares about is power, and that's her primary and absolute goal in life. It is quite possible that during a conversation with Mesaana she may seem dreamy, as if she is not present with you when you communicate with her. But in fact, this is far from the case. In fact, Mesaana very often goes into her own thoughts, but at the same time she never loses her vigilance and notices any details surrounding her. If Mesaana likes you, then she may even introduce herself with the real name, Saine Tarasind, and even tell you her story from the Age of Legends. Compared to the rest of the Forsaken, Saine has never been distinguished by any talents other than wielding the One Power. She was not even accepted to some fairly honorable position at the Kalam Dan University. She worked as a teacher there and she was very annoyed by her work. She hated the idea that she should teach and talk about the discoveries of other scientists instead of making her own. It is quite possible that it was this emotion that served as the main catalyst for her transition to the side of the shadow. By going to the shadow, she tried to compensate all of her shortcomings as a teacher and a scientist. And with time she became a very competent general and a scientist for the Dark One. She seized many lands and ruled them strictly, forcing all her subjects to send their children to the so-called schools of Mesaana, where they taught to praise the Dark One. Slow learning was punished by death, and she encouraged the children to spy on and bully each other. Mesaana encouraged children to isolate and harass children who were different. She had the children to form large mobs and hunt down people from institutions of higher learning. Many children betrayed their parents and families because of her. During the second half of the War of Power, she also used them to carry out executions, at times forming courts entirely of children. Museums and reminders of old ways were destroyed. Nothing could stand in the way of the Shadow's triumph. Such was the influence of these children that they came to be known as Mesaana's children. If Mesaana would send her resume to apply for work, most likely she would title it The Dark Amerlin. She did a lot of organizational work and brought many new recruits into the ranks of the Black Aja. Being one of the 13 most powerful of the Chosen, she was summoned to attend a meeting with the Great Lord of the Darkness in the Pit of Doom at Shayol Ghul. On this day, Leoster and Telamon and the 100 companion struck at the boar, sealing the Chosen and the Great Lord for 3,000 years. Now, during the breaking of the world, after the sealing, the name Mesaana's children was applied to roving brigands and looters, many of whom were the grown-up children she had once brainwashed. And now we'll go directly to the Wheel of Time cycle. And here, spoilers will begin, and we will start with the Lord of Chaos book. For the first time, we will meet Mesaana at the beginning of the 6th book. In the prologue, she is busy assembling a tower of dominoes, and she is very proud of the fact that she able to do that without using the one power. Her main purpose at this moment is to avoid any contacts with Semirhage. After a conversation with Demandred, who returned from Shayol Ghul, we learn that Mesaana is hiding in the White Tower. Moreover, there is some kind of secret alliance between her, Demandred, and Semirhage. In addition, we also learned that Mesaana was somehow involved in the plan to capture Rand al-Thor in Tyr. She was very proud of it and was sure that Bel-Al will succeed. There is very little of Mesaana in the Crown of Swords. She only appears once to Alviarin in the form of some kind of shadow with silver light. She learns from Alviarin that Elaida had a prophecy. When the Black Aja, Alviarin asks her to help to eliminate Elaida and the Amerlin, Mesaana mockingly refuses. After which she still condescendingly teaches her to travel. There are even fewer of Mesaana in the Path of Dagger than in the previous books. She appears only once to Alviarin and orders her to find out why the heads of the All Aja publicly squabble with each other, but when no one sees them, they whisper and plan something with each other. Alviarin again offers to eliminate Elaida, and again Mesaana mockingly refuses. In the Crossroads of Twilight, via Alviarin memories, we learned that Mesaana was quite talkative. She told the Black Aja about such inventions of the Age of Legends as flying cars and even elevators. After Elaida deals with Alviarin, she returns and again asks her for help, and then Shaidar Haran appears. He punishes Mesaana for not appearing in Shadar Logoth by the call of the Dark One when Rand cleansed Saidin. Shaidar Haran rapes Mesaana as a punishment. This is easily one of the darkest sins of the Wheel of Time. In a Knife of Dreams book, Mesaana comes to another meeting organized by Moradin. We see a conversation between her and Arangar, where they are trying to coordinate their manipulation over the sisters in the White Tower and the rebel sisters. Everyone is trying to hug the blanket over themselves. From their conversation, we learned that Mesaana was the one who first thought of splitting the unity of the White Tower. At the end of the meeting, Mesaana tries to show her temper, but Moradin reminds her that she has already been punished once, reminding her about the rape by Shaidar Haran and ordering her not to touch Rand al-Thor, but at the same time kill Perrin Aybara and Metrim Kothon. In the prologue of the Gathering Stormbook, Mesaana is again at the Moradin's meeting with other Forsaken. It seems that Moradin really loved those parties, very much. Mesaana tries to convince him to rescue Semirhage because she was captured by Rand al-Thor. Moradin refuses and says that Semirhage deserves what is happening to her. Again, every time when Mesaana tries to show her temper to Moradin, he reminds her of what happens to naughty girls in the camp of Dark One and orders them to leave. In the end, Mesaana promises to present the White Tower to the Dark One on a plate. In the Towers of Midnight book, after many attempts to lure Mesaana into a trap, she finally attacks Egwene, the Wise Ones and the Sea Folk in Tel Aran Riot. Egwene overpowers and fractures Mesaana's mind during the confrontation. Brown's sister named Danelle is found as a non-sentient invalid, following the Telaran Riot assault on the White Tower. This is the presumed result of Egwene having mentally overpowered Mesaana, thus destroying her mind, and has led the White Tower to conclude that Mesaana had either been Danelle the entire time or had been impersonating the original Danelle. By the way, there is another cool moment. If you reread the cycle and you already know that this is Danelle as Mesaana, then in the book 4, this brown one even has a very nice role. Firstly, in the scene where Elaida tears off the Palantir from Siuan, Danelle stands next to her and grins very maliciously. In addition, Danelle was responsible for the work of masons at the White Tower, and under the cover of mason workers she was able to bring several hundred soldiers into the White Tower, which then became a part of the attack and Siuan overthrow. It is actually unknown if she already became Mesaana at this point or the Forsaken used her appearance later. Either way, they look very similar. They both have blue eyes, both of them are a bit dreamy at first sight, and my personal opinion is yes, that was already Mesaana. Because in this way she indirectly pushed Elaida and helped her in every way she could, so that in the end there was a split in the White Tower. Anyway, it would be interesting to know your opinion about that, so write something in the comments. Well, thank you for listening about Mesaana. She's not one of the most interesting Forsaken there is, but there is something about her. And I hope you really enjoyed this video, so feel free to like and subscribe. And as usual, may the light shine upon you. Have a great day.